My phone buzzed on the kitchen counter while I was grading papers. It was 6:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, which meant it was either a robocall or bad news. I picked it up and saw the nursing home's number. "Miss Reeves? This is Maplewood Care. I'm so sorry, but your mother passed away peacefully in her sleep about an hour ago." I heard the words, but they didn't land right away. Mom had been declining for weeks, but you're never really prepared. I thanked the nurse, hung up, and stared at the stack of essays in front of me. Sophomore English. They were writing about resilience. The irony wasn't lost on me. I called my brother Marcus first. He answered on the fourth ring, sounding irritated. "Elena? It's not even 7. Mom died this morning." Silence. Then, "Oh, wow. Okay." A pause. "How are you doing?" I don't know yet. I need to call the funeral home and start making arrangements." "Right. Yeah. Just let me know when the service is. I'll try to make it work with my schedule." Try to make it work. Our mother had just died, and he'd try to make it work. I was thinking this Saturday, April 7th. The funeral home said they have availability in the afternoon. Another pause. "Saturday the 7th? Yes. Is that a problem?" "Elena, that's our anniversary party. Claire's been planning it for 6 months. We have 150 people coming." I pressed my palm against the counter. "Mom died 8 hours ago, Marcus." I know. I'm not trying to be insensitive. But can't you do it Sunday? Or the following weekend? Give people more notice anyway. Memorial services are typically held within a week. That's standard. But there's nothing actually standard about this situation. Mom's been gone for years already, Elena. The Alzheimer's took her long before today. That was Marcus. Always practical. Always reasonable. Always wrong. She was still our mother. And I'm not saying we shouldn't honor her. I'm saying we can be flexible about the date. This party has been on everyone's calendar since October. The venue's booked, the catering's paid for, Claire's family is flying in from Ontario, and Mom is dead. She's at peace now, Elena. This memorial is for the living. You can choose any day. We can't move 150 people. There it was. She's at peace now. This is for the living. I'd hear those words a lot over the next 72 hours. "I'll think about it," I said, and hung up before he could respond. I sat at my kitchen table for a long time after that call. The sun was coming up, turning everything gold and soft, and all I could think about was the last 5 years. Mom was diagnosed with early-onset Alzheimer's when she was 63. Dad had died 2 years before that, sudden heart attack, and Mom had been living alone in the house I grew up in. Marcus lived 30 minutes away. I lived 10. When she started forgetting things, missing appointments, leaving the stove on, it was me who noticed, me who took her to the neurologist, me who held her hand when the doctor said those words that reshape your entire future. Marcus came to that appointment. He sat in the chair next to Mom, checked his phone twice, and asked the doctor if she could still live independently. For a while, the doctor had said, "But she'll need increasing support. Eventually, full-time care." "There are good facilities around here," Marcus said on the way to the parking lot. "We should start researching." But it was me who moved in with her. Me who cut my hours at work. Me who learned to hide the car keys, to redirect her when she got confused, to stay calm when she accused me of stealing her jewelry that had been pawned 20 years ago to pay for Marcus's college. Marcus visited once in the first year, twice in the second. After that, nothing. He was busy building his real estate career. Claire was busy planning their perfect life, and I was busy watching my mother forget my name. The last time Mom was really lucid was about 3 years ago. She was having a good morning, sitting in the garden, and she turned to me and said, "You're a good daughter, Elena. Better than I deserve." "Don't say that, Mom." "It's true. I let your father favor Marcus. I thought boys needed more support. I was wrong." She squeezed my hand. "You're the strong one. You always have been." That was the last real conversation we had. After that, it was fragments. Moments. Sometimes she knew me. Sometimes I was her sister. Sometimes I was a stranger she was polite to. I moved her into Maplewood 8 months ago when I couldn't provide the level of care she needed anymore. I visited every day after school. I brought her favorite flowers. I read to her, even though I wasn't sure she understood. Marcus never visited. Not once. "She won't remember me anyway," he said when I asked him to come. "What's the point?" The point was she was our mother. But I'd stopped trying to explain that to him. Now she was gone, and he wanted me to schedule her memorial around his anniversary party. I called the funeral home and booked Saturday, April 7th, at 2 p.m. Then I called Marcus back. I'm not changing the date. Elena, come on. Be reasonable. I am being reasonable. Our mother deserves to be mourned within a traditional time frame. Your party can be rescheduled. It's not a party. It's our 10th anniversary. Claire's been working on this for months. Her parents, her grandparents, everyone's flying in. The venue, the photographer, the DJ, everything's booked. Then celebrate on Sunday. We can't just move it. Do you know how much coordination that takes? Do you know how much coordination it takes to care for someone with Alzheimer's for 5 years? Because I do and you don't. His voice went cold. That's not fair. What's not fair is you asking me to postpone Mom's memorial so you can throw a party. It's not just a party. And Mom wouldn't want us fighting. Mom wouldn't want to be forgotten. She's not being forgotten. We're just being practical about timing. That word again. Practical. The memorial is at 2 p.m. on Saturday. You can come or not. That's your choice. I hung up before he could argue. An hour later, my phone rang again. This time it was Dad. Dad remarried 5 years ago, right around when Mom got diagnosed. His new wife, Patricia, had never met Mom. She had no interest in the messy reality of Alzheimer's care. Dad visited Mom twice in 5 years, both times because I guilted him into it. Elena, Marcus called me. He's very upset. Hi, Dad. Yes, Mom died this morning. Thanks for asking. Don't be sarcastic. Of course I'm sorry about your mother. But Marcus has a point. This anniversary party is a big deal for him and Claire. So is Mom's memorial. Your mother wouldn't have wanted to cause problems. She'd want you two to work this out. Mom wanted a lot of things. She wanted her family to visit her. She wanted her son to call. She wanted to be remembered as more than an inconvenience. That's not what this is about. Then what is it about, Dad? Why is Marcus's party more important than Mom's memorial? It's not more important. It's just... Your mother is at peace now. The memorial is for the living. And the living have other commitments. There it was again. She's at peace now. This is for the living. So move the party to Sunday. Elena, you're being stubborn. You could easily have the memorial on Sunday. Most people don't even do them on weekends anyway. Most people's families show up. We'll show up. Just on a different day. The memorial is Saturday at 2 p.m. I'm not discussing this anymore. You're going to regret this. You're going to drive a wedge in this family over a date on a calendar. I'm not the one driving the wedge, Dad. I hung up, turned my phone off, and cried for the first time since I'd gotten the call that morning. The next 3 days were a blur of arrangements. I called Mom's few remaining friends, people from her book club and her church. I ordered flowers. I picked out a photo for the program, one from before the Alzheimer's, where she was smiling in her garden. Marcus texted me twice. Both messages said the same thing. Reconsider the date. We can all be there Sunday. I didn't respond. Saturday morning, I woke up at dawn. I put on a black dress, simple and respectful. I drove to the funeral home early and sat in the small chapel they'd set aside for us. At 1:45, people started arriving. Mom's book club friends. 3 women from her church. A former neighbor. By 2 p.m., there were 8 people there. Marcus wasn't one of them. Neither was Dad. At 2:15, I got a text from Dad. We're at Marcus's party. Your mother would understand. She's at peace now. This is for the living. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I saw the photo. Claire had posted it on social media. The venue was gorgeous, all string lights and flowers. There was a champagne tower, a live band. Dad was in the background, laughing at something. Marcus and Claire were in the center, arms around each other, both beaming. The caption read, "Celebrating 10 years with the people who matter most. Number anniversary party. Number blessed. Number family first." I took a screenshot. Then I turned my phone off and focused on the memorial. It was small, but it was beautiful. Mom's friend Dorothy gave a short speech about their book club. Pastor Williams talked about Mom's kindness. I read a passage from Mom's favorite novel. When it was over, I thanked everyone for coming. Dorothy hugged me and said, "Your mother was lucky to have you." I didn't feel lucky. I felt alone. I drove home, changed out of my dress, and sat in my living room. The house was quiet in that heavy way that follows grief. I kept thinking about Claire's caption, "The people who matter most." I thought about 5 years of caregiving. 5 years of watching my mother fade. 5 years of Marcus being too busy, too important, too focused on his own life. And I thought about something Mom's lawyer had mentioned once, in passing, back when we were setting up her power of attorney. I'd been the one handling Mom's affairs for the last 5 years. Her bills, her accounts, her medical decisions. Marcus hadn't been involved in any of it. But Marcus had been involved in something. I remembered now. About 3 years ago, right around the time Mom's confusion was getting worse, Marcus had asked to borrow some paperwork. Something about refinancing. He needed Mom's signature on some documents. I'd thought it was odd at the time, but I'd been so overwhelmed with caregiving that I hadn't followed up. Now, sitting in my quiet living room, I wondered. On Monday morning, I called Mom's lawyer. "Miss Reeves, I'm so sorry for your loss. How can I help you? I need to review my mother's estate documents. All of them. Of course. I can have copies ready for you by end of day." I picked them up at 5. The folder was thick, full of papers I'd signed, documents I'd reviewed, trusts and wills and powers of attorney. But there were also papers I'd never seen. A deed transfer, dated 3 years ago. Mom's house, the one I'd grown up in, the one she'd lived in until I moved her to Maplewood, had been transferred to Marcus. Signed by Mom. But I knew that signature. I'd seen Mom sign her name hundreds of times in those final years, when the Alzheimer's made her handwriting shaky and uncertain. This signature was clean, confident, perfect. This signature was forged. I kept reading. A power of attorney document, also signed 3 years ago, giving Marcus control over Mom's finances. Another document authorizing him to access her investment accounts. And then, the bank statements. Over the last 3 years, Mom's savings had been systematically drained. 50,000 here, 30,000 there. Small enough that no one would notice, large enough to matter. By the time she died, her estate was almost empty. I sat in my car in the lawyer's parking lot and did the math. Mom had been comfortable. Not rich, but secure. She'd had Dad's life insurance, her own retirement savings, the house that was paid off. Now there was nothing, and I knew exactly where it had gone. Marcus's new car, Claire's renovations, that anniversary party with 150 guests. My mother's money had paid for the party they'd chosen over her memorial. I drove home and spent the evening documenting everything. I made copies. I highlighted dates. I matched bank withdrawals to Marcus's social media posts of new purchases, vacation trips, restaurant openings. The pattern was clear. He'd forged Mom's signature to gain control of her assets. Then he'd bled them dry while she couldn't stop him. While I was changing her sheets and managing her medications and holding her hand through the confusion, Marcus was stealing from her. Tuesday morning, I called a different kind of lawyer. A criminal one. "This is elder abuse," the lawyer said, reviewing my documentation. "Financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. It's a felony in this state, especially given the amounts involved in the forged documents. What do I need to do? File a police report. Let me handle the rest." I filed the report that afternoon. The detective assigned to the case was a woman in her 50s named Chen. She looked at the documents and her expression hardened. "I took care of my father when he had dementia," she said. "I know what it's like, and I know what it's like when family takes advantage. Can you prove it?" "With this documentation? Absolutely. The forged signatures alone are enough, but combined with the financial records, the timing, the systematic withdrawals, this is going to be very straightforward." "How long?" "Give me 2 weeks. I'll have everything I need for the prosecutor." I waited. I went to work. I graded papers. I smiled when people said they were sorry for my loss. Marcus texted me once. "We need to talk about Mom's estate. I'm assuming there's paperwork to sort out." I didn't respond. 12 days after the memorial, Detective Chen called. "We have enough for an arrest warrant. Financial exploitation, forgery, theft. We're executing it tomorrow morning. I wanted you to know." "Thank you. There's one more thing. During our investigation, we found that your mother's house, the one your brother transferred to himself, was purchased with your father's life insurance money. Money that was supposed to be held in trust for both children. Your brother stole your inheritance too." I closed my eyes. Of course he did. "We'll make sure this is included in the charges. And Miss Reeves? I'm sorry you had to deal with this on top of losing your mother." "I'm not sorry anymore." The next morning, I drove past Marcus and Claire's house on my way to work. There were 2 police cars in the driveway. I didn't stop. The news broke that afternoon. Real estate developer arrested for elder abuse and fraud. The story hit the local news first, then spread. Forged documents, stolen inheritance, Alzheimer's victim. My phone started ringing. Dad called 6 times. I didn't answer. Claire called, crying, "Elena, please. This is all a misunderstanding. Marcus would never." He did, and I have proof. But the party, the house, everything we built, you built it with my mother's money. Money he stole while she was dying. She was already gone, Elena. The Alzheimer's. She was alive, and she deserved better than a son who stole from her and a family who chose a party over her memorial. I hung up. The real estate board suspended Marcus's license within 48 hours. His brokerage dropped him. His clients fled. The house, bought with stolen money, went into foreclosure when he couldn't make the payments from jail. Claire filed for divorce 3 weeks later. Dad finally stopped calling and sent an email instead. "Elena, you've destroyed this family. Your mother would be ashamed. She's at peace now. But you're tearing apart the living over money and revenge." I replied with one sentence. "She's at peace now because I made sure her last years were dignified, something you couldn't be bothered with." He didn't respond. The trial took 6 months. Marcus pleaded guilty to avoid a longer sentence. He got 3 years in state prison for elder abuse, fraud, and forgery. The judge ordered him to pay restitution, though everyone knew the money was gone. "Your brother exploited your mother's vulnerability for personal gain," the judge said at sentencing. "He showed no remorse, no care for her well-being, and no respect for family bonds." This sentence reflects the gravity of those choices. Marcus looked at me once during the hearing. I didn't look away. After everything was settled, I used the restitution money to establish a small scholarship fund in Mom's name. It goes to students studying gerontology, people who want to work with Alzheimer's patients. The first recipient wrote me a thank you note. She said she'd watched her grandmother fade away and wanted to help other families navigate that journey. I thought about Mom, about those 5 years, about the day she told me I was the strong one. I thought about Marcus, about his party, about Claire's caption, the people who matter most. I thought about Dad's message, delivered again and again like a mantra. She's at peace now. This is for the living. He was right about one thing. This was for the living. But it turned out I was the only one living a life worth protecting. 3 years later, I still visit Mom's grave every Sunday. I bring flowers from my garden, the same kind she used to grow. Sometimes I tell her about my students, about the scholarship recipients, about the life I've built without the family that abandoned us both. Dad calls once a year, on Christmas. The conversations are brief. He's older now, and Patricia takes care of him. Marcus got out of prison last year. He works construction, lives in a studio apartment, and isn't licensed to practice real estate anymore. Claire remarried. She posts about her new life online, never mentioning the 10 years that came before. And me? I'm still teaching, still grading papers, still thinking about resilience. My sophomores write essays about it every year. They talk about bouncing back, about staying positive, about forgiveness and healing. I don't correct them. They're young. They'll learn. Real resilience isn't about bouncing back. It's about standing firm when everyone tells you to bend. It's about choosing what matters even when the people around you choose convenience. It's about remembering that peace isn't the absence of conflict. It's knowing you did right by someone who couldn't fight for themselves anymore. Mom is at peace now, and so am I. But not because I moved on, or forgave, or let it go. Because I made sure that the people who hurt her, who dismissed her, who called her death a scheduling conflict, faced exactly the consequences they'd spent years avoiding. She's at peace now. And I made sure she didn't die alone, unmourned, and unavenged. That's what family is supposed to do, even if you have to do it alone.